Welcome to Transformation Talks, where we explore the world of hypnosis and its impact on mindset and mental health. I'm your host, Julie Chal, trauma-informed rapid transformational therapist, clinical hypnotherapist, educator, and coach. As this podcast may feature powerful hypnosis in some episodes, please avoid listening to the hypnosis section of this recording while driving or operating machinery. You may come back to this section of the podcast when you're seated comfortably without any distractions or lying down. Hypnosis is not suitable for those with epilepsy, psychosis, or severe mental health issues. In each episode, I'll guide you through real-life client stories, sharing insights from my practice and experience. Whether you're curious about hypnosis or seeking personal growth, you're in the right place. So sit back, relax, and get ready to explore the potential of hypnosis for positive change. So let's get started. If you're a mom struggling with anxiety, I want to talk to you today. Because there is one sentence that I hear over and over again in my therapy room, whether that's in person or on Zoom. And every single time I hear it, it breaks my heart. My clients say to me, Julie, I don't want my children to end up like me. And sometimes they'll say it through tears. Sometimes they'll laugh as they say it because they're trying to hold themselves together. But underneath those words is something much deeper. Guilt. So much guilt. And maybe you've noticed your children becoming anxious. Maybe they're shy. Maybe they don't believe in themselves. Maybe they cry over little things. Or maybe they're constantly worried. And maybe they're struggling to go to school. Or maybe mornings are a battle and every day feels like you're dragging everyone across the finish line before 8 in the morning. And then you start wondering, is this my fault? Have I done this to them? If I'd gotten help sooner, would they be different? And if you've ever had these thoughts, I want you to hear me and let these words sink in. Please don't carry guilt for what you didn't know. You were doing the very best you could with the nervous system you had. You weren't choosing to be overwhelmed. You weren't choosing to be reactive. Your nervous system was simply doing what it had learned to do. And that's a very different thing. Can I tell you something I've noticed after working with hundreds of women? I've never sat across from a mother who wanted to hurt her child. Not one. Every single mother I've worked with has wanted the same thing. I just want my children to have a better life than I did. Think about that for a moment. These women aren't selfish. If anything, they've spent their entire lives putting everyone else first. They've become the helper, the fixer, the responsible one, the one who carries the emotional load, the one who keeps the family together. And somewhere along the way, they forgot themselves. And then they became mothers. Now they're trying to look after children while running on a nervous system that has been surviving for decades. Of course, that's exhausting. Now, before I go any further, I want to make something really clear. Children can experience anxiety for many different reasons. There is never one single cause. But research has shown that a mother's anxiety, particularly during pregnancy and in the early years, can influence a child's development. We also know that children learn emotional regulation through repeated interactions with their parents or caregivers. And that doesn't mean an anxious mother will automatically have an anxious child. And it certainly doesn't mean a mother is to blame if her child develops anxiety. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is this: children don't just listen to what we tell them. They experience us. They experience our tone of voice, our facial expressions, our breathing, our tension, our urgency. They experience our nervous system. And children are constantly asking one question, even if they never say it out loud. Am I safe? Let me tell you about one of my clients. We'll call her Chelsea to protect her privacy. When Chelsea first came to see me, she wasn't sitting in my office because she wanted to become a better mom. She was exhausted. She was anxious. She wasn't sleeping properly. She was carrying the emotional load of everyone around her. Like so many women I work with, she was trying to hold everything together while quietly falling apart inside. She told me she was becoming more irritable. She was yelling more than she wanted to, and she wanted to enjoy life with her children again instead of constantly feeling stressed and overwhelmed. Now, here's what's interesting. We never set out to change her children. We never set out to make her a better mom. We focused on helping Chelsea feel safe, helping her nervous system come out of survival mode, helping her stop carrying everything on her shoulders, and helping her set boundaries and helping her recognize her own worth. Over the following weeks, something remarkable started happening. She was sleeping better. The anxiety she lived for decades was gone. She became calmer. She felt more confident. She started setting healthier boundaries. And then she told me something I wasn't surprised to hear. Julie, the mornings are calmer. My children are responding differently to me. The whole house just feels different. And even her husband noticed the change too. And that's even her husband noticed the change too. And that's exactly what I want you to understand. We didn't begin by changing the children. We began by helping mom feel safe. Because when mom's nervous system changes, the emotional climate of the home changes. And when the emotional climate changes, children experience a different mom. Not a perfect mom, a calmer mom, a more present mom. And Chelsea's story isn't unique. She's one of many mothers I've had the privilege of working with over the years. In fact, after working with hundreds of women, I've started to notice a pattern. Most mothers think they're passing anxiety onto their children. And what I often see is that they're passing survival patterns. And the beautiful thing about survival patterns is that they can be unlearned and healed. And that leads me to something I found fascinating throughout my practice. This isn't me quoting research. This is me sharing what I've observed after working with hundreds of clients. During hypnosis, it's actually quite common for clients to trace their roots of their anxiety back to a time before they even had words to express what they were really feeling. And sometimes that takes us into very early childhood. And sometimes clients reconnect with experiences they associate with being in their mother's womb. I've even had clients describe sensing their mother's fear, her sadness, her overwhelm, her stress, almost as though their nervous system learned incredibly early that the world wasn't completely safe. Now, I'm not presenting that as scientific proof. I'm sharing it because it's something I've genuinely witnessed over and over again in my therapy room. It's part of my clinical experience as a hypnotherapist. And whether someone understands those experiences as literal prenatal memories or as symbolic experiences that emerge during therapy isn't the main point I'm making. The point is this. Again and again, we uncover a nervous system that learned safety was uncertain. And when we help that nervous system experience safety, their anxiety changes. And that's why I don't believe healing is only about learning coping strategies. It's about changing the deeper patterns your nervous system has been carrying, sometimes for a lifetime. Now, let's make this practical. What does anxiety actually look like as a mom? Because most women don't walk around thinking, I'm anxious. They just think, I'm busy, I'm tired, I'm stressed, I'm trying to hold everything together, and I just feel on edge. And you're rushing to get breakfast ready. You're packing lunches. You're thinking about work. You're replying to messages. You're remembering appointments. You're trying not to be late. And your child can't find their shoes. And they've suddenly decided they don't want to go to school. They spill their breakfast. The dog starts barking. Your phone rings and your body reacts as though you're under attack. Your shoulders tighten. Your breathing changes and the voice becomes sharper. You snap. Then the guilt hits. I've done it again. Sound familiar? Now imagine being 5 years old. You don't understand deadlines, you don't understand mortgages, you don't understand work stress, and all you know is that mom feels different. Children don't think mom has anxiety. They simply experience mom. And because children don't yet have the words to explain what's happening inside them, they communicate through behavior. The clinginess, the meltdowns, the worrying, the anger, the withdrawal, the sensitivity. Behavior is often communication. It's often a child's nervous system expressing what they don't have words to say. And sometimes it's their nervous system saying, I don't feel settled. Now, here's the part that gives me so much hope. When the women I work with begin healing, they often tell me something they weren't expecting. My daughter seems happier. My son is talking to me more. The mornings are calmer and we're arguing less. The whole house feels different. Think about that. We didn't start by changing the child. We started by helping mom finally feel safe inside herself. When her nervous system changed, the emotional climate of the home often changed too. And that's incredibly powerful. And I want to say something that I hope every mother watching this remembers. You don't need to be perfect. There is no perfect mother. Your children don't need perfection. They need repair, they need connection, and they need emotional safety. They also need someone who can say, I'm sorry, I understand, I'm here, I love you. And most importantly, they need someone who is willing to heal. Because healing yourself is one of the greatest gifts you can give your children. Not because you'll never lose your patience again, not because life suddenly becomes perfect, but because your children experience a version of you that is calmer, more present, more emotionally available, and more able to show them what safety feels like. So if you've been carrying guilt, please put it down. Stop punishing yourself for what you didn't know. Instead, ask yourself a different question. What if healing myself is one of the greatest gifts I could ever give my children? Because after working with hundreds of women, this is what I believe. Your past doesn't have to become your children's future. The cycle can end with you. And if this episode resonated with you, and if you saw yourself in today's conversation, then know this. Change is possible. I've watched women who spent years living in survival mode finally experience peace. I've watched anxiety loosen its grip. I've watched mothers become calmer, more confident, more present. And I've watched the ripple effect that creates within a family. And that is why I do this work. Not just because one life changes, but because when one person heals, they touch every relationship around them. Sometimes healing one mother changes the emotional future of an entire family. Thank you for tuning into Transformation Talks. If you've enjoyed this show, please tap the follow button and share it with someone who may benefit from it. Your support means the world to me. If this podcast has helped you in any way, I'd greatly appreciate it if you could leave a review in the show notes. Lastly, if any of these episodes have resonated with you and you'd like support, please book a connection call with me. The link is in the show notes. Thank you again for listening, and I look forward to connecting with you next week.